ice on. Yeah, I know that I be loaded, but I'm focused. Never lacking, pistol packing when I'm rolling. Had a dream that I made it, I got me feeling like I'm chosen. Soon as I get home, take off them thongs and bust it open. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another YouTube video. Today we're gonna be watching and react to it. We're gonna be reacting to somebody that was in the gang. You feel me? He talking about his gang leader and shit. Let's see what's going on though. Let's get to the video.
Do you know the difference between a killer and a murderer?
Sipping on that.
There's a distinct difference between the two. A killer may kill given the right circumstances. You run off with some money, you slap his mother, you abuse his sister, he'll kill you over it. But a murderer is somebody who lives to kill. He doesn't need a reason to kill. My charge partner, which is my co-defendant / gang leader, was a serial killer, ferocious human being. And I don't use words lightly. This man sold drugs, but he was not a drug dealer. He sold drugs to finance his murder habit, for insulation purposes, for power, to be mobile. That's why he sold drugs. But first and foremost, he was a murderer. Let me tell you, by the time I finish telling you about this guy, you're gonna
Hey, this nigga look funny as hell though.
You watch the movie.
Funny
You're gonna be shocked that the streets in the United States, there are neighborhoods that even raise men like this in America. While we was awaiting trial on murder.
Hey, and another thing, if I start streaming, y'all gonna fuck with my stream, bro? Let me know in the comments, cause I'm gonna start streaming soon, so I can get y'all. I can talk to y'all in real time and stuff. So you feel me? Lock in with that. I'm gonna drop my. I don't know if I'm gonna do Twitch or Kick, but I got a Twitch account, but I don't know how to do the comments and stuff. So I'm gonna do Twitch and Kick, and or I might just do. I've been hearing everybody switching to Kick. But I don't know if I want to go to Kick yet. But I might though. You feel me? I might go to Kick. Yeah, I might do Kick. I don't know. I'm gonna see what's going on in a second though.
The cases, we was co-defendants, as I said. He was further charged with killing one of the correctional officers while awaiting trial on other cases. As the word goes, the court documents point out, this public knowledge. Him and this officer had words, and the next day, this sergeant, which was an officer, was ambushed and gunned down on his front porch and died in his wife's arms. I'm gonna tell you what he said about this to me while we was in trial on other cases. But first, there were 3 distinct manifestations of demons that came out of him during the time I was around him. As a matter of fact, he raised me in the streets before God intervened and snatched me out of it. I had a praying mama who delivered me out of it. I fell into the hands of the gang because I didn't have a father, and I was biracial in the South. I didn't fit in. But here go my point. I spent 27 years in prison. I met men that were menacing and brutal, but only one man that I term as ferocious, like a lion. Here go my deal. While I was locked up, I met a guy who had 19 choke first-degree SA murders, meaning that once he finished, they were finished. He was back on appeal on one of the cases. My checker player partner had a quadruple murder. I was around dudes with triples and doubles and can't count how many dudes I've been around that was murders. Point I'm making, these men were kittens compared to this dude. John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, kittens. They killed children and women, and I don't say that lightly. This man spanked and chastised other killers in the streets. The man was numbered in his 20s. I'm gonna tell you how they caught him. He was numbered in his 20s. By the time they caught him and took him off the street, he got 3 life sentences plus 50 years now. I talked to his nephew like 2 years ago. I said, man, when the last time you talked to dude? He said, man, about 4 years ago. He said, man, dude told me that the doctors and the psych doctors are trying to ask him to permit them to do psychoanalyze his mind and his brain, do studies on his brain. He was this ferocious, family. Here's my point. When we was in a safe house one time, me and him laid up in the safe house on the west side of Chicago. He would never answer the phone. It was a landline in the house. He had like 4 women. This was one of the houses that he bought for one of the females. I'm watching the game. He laying on his back. He used to lay on his back and stare at the ceiling like this for hours, just plotting evil with his mouth open, his eyes bulged. The phone rung. When he picked it up, I was shocked. Guess what I heard come out of his mouth while he laying on that couch, 250 pounds, looking like Godzilla. I heard these words come out of his mouth. No, she's not in right now. I'll tell her you called. Thanks. And hung up the phone.
What if you could make a song using only your voice?
Bruh, come on.
Let's start with the drums.
Perfectly pitched 5-year-old girl's voice came out of his mouth. I jumped and looked at him. When I looked at him, his mouth was moving like one of those dolls, those wooden dolls that a ventriloquist has on their lap. That's moving like this with his eyes open. And he just hung the phone up. Pure evil. Let me tell you what he told me after they took him back downstairs and fingerprinted him and charged him with the case on the correction officer for murdering his guy. He looked at me and said, "Dog, you know when they charged me with doing dude, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, when they brought me back downstairs, it's some dark-skinned dude with a bunch of cheap jewelry on. Had the nerve to walk up on me talking about some, you know what you charged with? First-degree murder." He said, "You know what I told that fool, dog?" I said, "What you tell him, dog?" He said, "I told that fool, y'all gonna be bringing me back down here for 20 more of them." He said, "You should have seen that fool face." Family, I call this man the Black Hannibal Lecter. He moved like Stevie Wonder when he talked. You know how Stevie Wonder played the piano and sway like this from his waist up? This man's waist swayed all while he was talking to me and while we in this holding cell in trial. And he talked with his hands and he's real poetic as the way he moved. I'm gonna tell you what he said to me and what happened between he and I in that bullpen. And I'm gonna tell you what he said to the court reporters and the cameramen in the courtroom after they found him guilty. He was talking to me doing this. Dig that, dog. Woo, 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 woo. Swaying back and forth like this. He had slanted eyes. And he was talking to me. We had another co-defendant in the bullpen who was sitting to my right. I took my eyes off him for a second while he was moving and talking to me like this. And I looked at the other guys because he started talking. When I looked back, my gang leader was on the edge of the seat, which is about 6 feet from me, with his hands on his knees looking at me like this, with his mouth hanging open, his eyes bugged, just like a vampire. I looked out, I remember what I said. I was reading my little brown Bible because I had gave my life to Jesus. I had, unplugged from the gang, hadn't told nothing, hadn't stole nothing. And I looked at him and said, "Look at the devil and dude." I didn't want to look at it no more. And I looked off for about 3 seconds. When I looked back, he was like this again. "Dog, dig that right. Woo, 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 woo. Dig that, dog." He didn't even know he had went into this demonic trance. Didn't even know it, wasn't even aware of it. This man talked through his teeth. He gritted on his teeth like this and he whispered everything he said. He couldn't even raise his voice. I'm talking about I was under a serpent, a pure serpent. When I finished telling you some of the things, when they found him guilty on the correctional officer murder, he looked back at the court reporters and the cameraman and said, "Tell the world I'll be back." Just like that. Family, my time around this dude, it was like being around an ancient being. He was like 20-some years old, but the spirits that operated through him were ancient. The insight that they had, the instincts. Literally, he tried to kill me at least 5 times that I was aware of. 2 times, I turned myself in to death, family. You may say, "Man, why would you do that?" I was 20 years old. I had been indoctrinated in the streets. Don't go to the law. Never go to the law. He had raised me. So all I know is the code of the street. So that wasn't even an option. But I didn't have power. This man had over 1,000 men under his hand, and he was rich. Would drag $20,000 through the projects in a heartbeat. Had multiple private investigators looking for dudes all at the same time. He like 2-3 people removed. But he got private investigators on the payroll looking for dudes that he's trying to unalive. Every day of the week. No days off. I turned myself into death because men like this play with the innocent. I had a mother and kids, siblings living on Front Street. And he was trying to unalive me over some trivial stuff that I hadn't even done. But that don't matter to him. Church, let me tell you, I'm gonna tell you how they caught him. He talked to me about this. This was the last time I seen him too. He been gone for 31 years. They can't put nobody in the cell with him. He got to be in the cell by himself. I heard that female officers that come by the door, you know how the women be infatuated with serial killers. I've heard of dudes that was locked up on SEG with him. They went in the cell with him, but on the same wing. So he had a female officer's ear pinned to the crack, the seal in the door for hours, just whispering. I mean, ruling over men was like first nature to him. The only person I ever seen that put me in mind of him is Pablo Escobar. Everything Pablo Escobar would do, he would do. Everything, no feeling. It taught me the type of spirits that evil dictators have in them. Let me tell you what he said to me one time after he was disciplining his child. He found this little boy in the restroom trying to smoke a cigarette. And he said, you finna smoke that? And he lied to him. He took him in the bedroom and spanked him. I'm a teenager. So I'm sitting in the dining room laughing at him getting a whooping. When he came out the room, y'all, he stepped out into the hall and stepped to the dining room looking at me like this. He said, dawg, this from whooping his child. He said, dawg, I don't like to put my hands on nobody unless I'm killing them. He said, let me sit down, dawg. It wasn't funny no more. I got out the chair. He sat down. His back had swole up. These swole up. His wings had swole up. You know, wings is these traps. He had swole up. And while he was sitting down breathing, this was after disciplining his son. He said, dawg, feel my back. And I got to feeling his back. He said, dawg. He said, every time I get mad, he said, my back swell up and get real hard. He said, I don't know what that is, dawg. I didn't know what it is either. Now I know he was a host of wicked spirits. That's what it was. But, you know, his will was so strong, he looked at me when we was in the bullpen that day, after he was doing this. He talked just like Stevie Wonder. I called him the Black Hannibal Lecter. He looked at me and patted the wall. He said, dawg, I'm coming out of here. Even if I got to knock the wall down. Meant it. 100% meant it. Now let me tell you how they caught him. If you've been with me this far in this video, go to the first link. I pinned a comment in my comments about my Etsy store, y'all. I've been a Christian now for 32 years. I got an Etsy store of a godly apparel. If you're still here, go check it out. And now let me finish with my story. I'd love if you buy something from me. Hit the link in the comment or go to my channel. You'll see my Etsy store. Thank you so much. Family, let me tell you how they caught him. He was telling me the story. One of the guys that we was associated with, they got at odds with each other. And he came out, caught the dude on the street. He was scrapped. He said he had a 4-4. He told him, he said, I would kill you now. He said, but first I'm gonna let you leave and go get scrapped. And when I come back, I'm gonna kill you. Dude stripped down butt naked, because he used to be on the wicked sticks, the PCP, that make you want to strip naked. Walked up in the police station and said, he ain't had no problem going to the police. He walked up in the police station and said, so-and-so trying to kill me. They know who he is. They took him into custody, put him in PC. Now look, the informant now, gets dude on the phone. The only reason dude on the phone is that he kind of keep him on the phone long enough to figure out where he at so he can send the hitters. This is what he telling me while we in the bullpen awaiting trial. He said, dawg, I got him on the phone. I'm sending the hitters because I figured out where he at. He said, but while I was sending the hitters, he said he was sitting there with the police, and the police was trying to get him to keep him on the phone till they can tap where he was at, trace where he was at. They didn't get the exact house, but he overstayed on the phone long enough for them to get the block in the neighborhood he was in. When they found that out, they cut off all interest to that neighborhood. Wouldn't let no cars in, no cars out, put a helicopter in the air circling it. And they went door to door, and that's how they caught him. He was in his 20s. But the man was a monster. And let me tell you why I turned myself in to death. What I said while I was on the airplane. I'm 30, he called me. He said, dawg, catch the next flight up here. I ain't got no right to ask over this phone because the phones be tapped. I was a young man living in the nonsense before God saved me through my mother's prayer. And I said, all right, I hang the phone up, catch a cab. That's back in the day. Go to the airport. I'm 20-some thousand feet in the air. I said, when I get up here, I said, dude, them finna kill me. I hadn't done nothing, but they was paranoid and suspicious that I might. I said, dude, them finna kill me. I said, God, I said, I don't ask you to spare my life. I said, I deserve to die. I said, God, I just ask you to spare my soul hellfire. And I said, God, don't let these men torture me. I said, make it quick. I got there, it took me through 2-3 cars, different locations before I got to him. And he just wanted to look in my eyes. Turned the chair around and sat in and looked in my eyes. And he just see if I'm gonna drop my head. He couldn't touch me because my mama's prayers covered me. As much as he wanted to, he couldn't do it. And couldn't do it. I'll tell you one other thing that he said one time. And he been locked up now 31 years, ain't changed. Doctors in the joint talking about studying his mind. You know, that's just that gone. That's what's out there, y'all. That's what the enemy is rearing out here. But let me tell you, a dude had got locked up and was around one of his nemesis who told him, he said, man, dude, them can't come to jail. He can't come to jail because he was a part of a powerful gang too, saying that they gonna exact vengeance on him if he came to jail. Dude reported this to him. Dude was sitting here eating, y'all, eating the meal. I'm sitting there. After dude reported that to him, he looked at him and said, kill that ninja mama for me. Then he went back to eating real slow. Then he paused after another bite or two, and he looked back up and said, dawg, I'm a real killer. And went back to eat. My God, you can't tell me Jesus ain't good. Ain't number one thing that has followed me in my newborn life.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, that shit was crazy as fuck, but I really ain't had shit to say about that shit. That shit was, I don't even know, that shit wasn't even talking about nothing for real, bro. I think he finna give us some juicy shit. He only told us about 2 murders. What the fuck? Alright, but bet. We on to the next video, bro. This shit's some bullshit. I'm probably finna go ahead and crank this stream up. Y'all come fuck with my stream. I'm gonna put that shit in the comments or something like that. Not in the comments, but in the description. Come fuck with the stream so we can chop it up and shit. Get my fan base going. You feel me? But I'm gonna catch y'all in a little bit.